I'm about to shine the light on the truth about lighting. Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, I am finally answering all of your questions about lighting in your homes, in your spaces, what to do, what types of lighting, all of it. We're getting into it, we're diving into it, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel and you have the bell notification turned on to get notified every time I upload, and let's get into the video. Now, I think we're gonna start this at the top and work our way down, and we're gonna talk about the tones of lighting, light fixtures, and what you can do about them. And the first thing we're gonna start off with is can or recessed lighting. So in the 80s and 90s, can lights were the rage. Everyone wanted them. We wanted as many as possible. So a lot of homes have a ton of can lights. And right now we're in this place where they're nice, but we have something else going on, so they're looking a little bit dated, but they're still functional and we like them, and I think that's great. Usually with a can light, I recommend if you're painting your ceiling to paint the inside, if it's paintable of course, and anytime you do anything with electrical, obviously you want to have a certified and licensed electrician come out to do any work on that. What I really recommend is looking into and investing in smart lighting. That might be through switches, it might be through smart light bulbs, because you have a lot of convenience and options and you can make a lot of adjustments with those. So getting smart light bulbs is great because they have different tones of lighting and they have different colors of light. That's always really fun. You can also like set timers and stuff. That's really cool. But if you have a lot of can lights on a singular switch, it's nice to put a smart switch in where you can do a little bit of those features like have a timer and that sort of stuff on that switch. You can also get dimmable LED light bulbs and put them into recessed lighting. That's always something that's really amazing and will really benefit you. Another option you have if you're not in the position where you have those kind of classic can lights that have a lot of depth to them is you can get flush mounted recessed lighting. And these are basically LED lights that have kind of an opaque cover on them. They're a little bit smaller, but they're very thin. Those are also really nice and convenient because they oftentimes will have a switch on the back where you can adjust the tone of lighting that comes out of it. That's something that's really important is the amount of lumens that are coming out of the light you're selecting. And what a lumen is, it basically determines the temperature of the light. So you can have something that's like 1,000 or 1,100 lumens. This is going to be a very, very yellow, warm light. Or you can have something that's 5,000 plus lumens. This is going to be much cooler. I like somewhere in the middle. I think a 5,000 lumen light is a little bit strong. I prefer something that's actually a little bit warmer in the 3,000 to 4,000 lumen range, just because it's just a little bit softer. It has the edge taken off a little bit and it's still bright and you're gonna get that light, you're gonna get visibility. I think that's phenomenal. When it comes to an overhead light fixture, like a central light fixture, a chandelier, it might even be a ceiling fan, we can look at that a little bit differently depending on whether or not you have recessed lights in addition to that. You can adjust the type of light bulb you have in those and that'll be good and that'll work really well for you. But when it comes to an overhead light fixture, as a general rule of thumb, I find that I cannot get a light fixture that is large enough to fill a space to look appropriate in that space that gives off the correct amount of light. Usually I find that they give off way too much light and need a dimmer switch to adjust them because they're not always comfortable at night. You know, in the daytime you can have a really bright light and it doesn't have as much impact as it does at night when you have a very bright light because it's a little bit jarring at night. So I like to have a dimmer switch on an overhead light fixture. For a central fixture, I typically like to be in the 24 to 30 inch range. That's kind of the minimum I'm willing to do. And the only reason I'm willing to do anything that has a smaller diameter than 24 inches is when it comes to depth. If we have a lower ceiling situation, I have to be mindful of the depth because I don't want light fixtures to impede head space. And maybe it's a little bit different if you're in a dining space where it can be a little bit lower because nobody's walking on top of your dining table, or if they are, that's probably a separate problem you need to address, but not the point of this video. As a general rule of thumb, the bigger the space, the bigger the light fixture. However, one of the main issues I find with a large overhead fixture is the type of bulb you're using, depending on what it calls for, can be a little bit too hot. So in my house, I have crystal chandeliers because that's my house, that's my style, and that's what I love, but they have, I think, 12 light bulbs on each of them. They give off a lot of heat if I was to use a normal incandescent light bulb. It's just a lot of heat. They burn hot, and that's just the reality of it. So I have opted to go for a dimmable light. This is actually one of them right here, and you can see it looks good, and it kind of looks like an Edison bulb. You wouldn't look at this and say, oh, it's an LED. It looks pretty classic, aside from the fact that these are maybe just a little bit more yellow than is ideal. But the fact is, this is dimmable. It's a dimmable LED light bulb, which means that I can have my lights on, I can have them dimmed, but they also burn cool. That's something that's really important because the bigger the light fixture, the more heat it will give off when turned on. But if you use an LED bulb, you can reduce that. There are, however, other type of overhead light fixtures you can look into or you can get. Let's say, for example, you are in one of those homes that has a lot of recessed can lights. There are actually conversion kits where you can just kind of screw them in. They screw in like light bulbs, and really convenient. They convert it to a fixture look, and there's lots of options. That's always great. Or maybe you're in a position where you are in a space that maybe has to have one of the dreaded boob lights that everyone seems to hate, and hey, understandably, I get it. There are flush mount alternatives that keep the same low profile, but don't necessarily have the builder grade kind of look. I have some cylindrical ones that I really like that are really pretty. They have LEDs in them that are also temperature adjustable. Now, I've also been asked about what to do if you have light fixtures in an open plan space. You can find different types of fixtures or different styles that have a relationship to one another, be it in color or be it in style. If you are looking to coordinate something with another thing, you have to be able to see one from the other. You might also consider eliminating a light fixture from one space. In your kitchen, maybe you do recessed lighting instead of an overhead fixture. That way the one in your dining room doesn't have something to compete with. But then maybe take the hardware color from that light fixture and incorporate it onto some of your cabinetry. That way you have the connection, you have the correlation. Something like that will enhance a space and make it feel connected. You don't necessarily have to use all matching fixtures, although that's something you can do. There's nothing more glamorous than like a massive chandelier in your kitchen. Maybe it's a dusting nightmare, but I'm gonna be impressed, that's for sure. Now, before we dive into our next topic, I want to take a moment and remind you, if you've made it this far, be sure you hit that subscribe button. And I also would like to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, Skillshare. I love teaching you, but there are only so many things I can share with you at once. That's why I love Skillshare. Their easy-to-use platform makes enhancing your knowledge on topics you're actually passionate about fun and easy. They have classes about design, cooking, organization, and meditation. I have really been enjoying Thomas Frank's Productivity Masterclass, Create a Custom System That Works. It's all about upping your productivity and time management. Because life is busy, especially with work and kids. Not that I have kids, but I do have dogs, so basically the same thing. But his classes have genuinely helped me to make the most of my time to help balance how overwhelming life can be at times. There's also nothing better than enhancing yourself and your space and your life. Trust me, I know. Accomplishing that growth is satisfying, and Skillshare makes it simple. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And the first 1,000 people to use the link in the description will get a free 1-month trial of premium Skillshare membership so you can explore your creativity. And if it ain't premium, it ain't Lashik. Next, we're gonna dive into accent lights. These are lamps and art lights, task lights, floor lamps. All sorts of accent lighting is really amazing and beneficial to a space because this sets a mood. What you all have asked me about the most is where to hang the sconces. And in my opinion, whenever you are affixing something to a wall of your home, it is now a part of the architecture. And I always like to see sconces centered on something or aligned with something. I want them to make sense in the space. But it depends on the type of sconce you're choosing. This honestly is up to interpretation and up to what you think is best. But when I can, I always want to center a light fixture. However, there are certain types of sconces you just can't do that with. For example, if you have a really long fixture that has a decorative detail or finial at the bottom, what do you do about that? Because now the weight of the light fixture is on the top. but the center of the light fixture is nowhere near where the outlet or the actual wiring in of that is. And a part of that is going to be planning. Like when you're planning a house or you're planning a renovation, think about what piece of furniture, what piece of artwork is going to go there, and then think about how do we hang the sconces in line with that. That's going to be the easiest way for you to get wired in sconces that make sense with your space, that you don't have to move the outlet on if you decide they need to be changed or they're not in the right position. Now, another really fun type of accent lighting is picture lighting. People love it. It's becoming very popular right now, and I definitely recommend you look into it. There's different types of picture lighting, however. One is to have a picture light installed into your ceiling. That's always something that's really nice and really fun, but it does require installation. If you live in a 2-story house, for example, it's a lot more difficult to add that in after the fact. So we have wall and actually frame mounted picture lights. I really like a wall mounted picture light because I think you can use it to enhance a picture. You can make it so you can lower a picture but have the picture light so the visual weight of the picture is a little bit taller than it actually is. That's something that's always really fun. And you can get them that are battery operated. You can also get them that are just entirely faux. Another option is the frame mounted picture light. I don't personally love them on actual pictures, these frame mounted lights, because it kind of blocks the frame. It can sometimes block the picture. The light sometimes is a little bit too close and distorts the actual viewing of the photo, especially if there's glass on it. Now, the most asked, the most wondered, and the most questioned of the accent lights is the table lamp. I get so many questions about table lamps, and specifically you all want to know about the shades. The shades on the table lamps, because what do you do about the shade? What if you do if you're replacing a shade? What if you bought a beautiful lamp but you hate the shade or you just think it looks cheap? What do you do? There's not really one great answer. There's not one general rule of thumb as to what size shade works for what lamp. As a general rule of thumb, I like to follow the body of the lamp, the size, the shape, the proportions of it. For example, the lamps in my bedroom have a very round shape. They're kind of ginger jar inspired. They're really beautiful and I love them, but they have a very round center. So I like a round lampshade, but I don't like a drum shade. I like for a shade to have a slight angle to it, a slight slope to it, something like that to create a little bit of visual interest and cast shadows in an interesting way. However, the lamp that you oftentimes will see behind me on my buffet table is a vintage, it's actually not vintage, it's antique Lalique. Say that 10 times fast. But the lamp is gorgeous. The base of it actually is in a hexagon acrylic block, and the body of it is the crystal portion, but it's very thin and wide. So I use a rectangular shaped fixture. I opted not to go for an oval shaped fixture because, once again, I like to have a tapered top. I like to cast some interesting shadows. Plus I had a lampshade that was that shape and I didn't have to go buy another one. It has a really modern and fresh effect on this antique lamp that I really enjoy. But I followed the shape of the body of the lamp to get this effect and to create that so that I get those interesting shadows when the light is on, and that's so it just feels very modern and very fresh. You can have custom lampshades made, of course. I'm not personally the biggest fan of the overdone like fabric printed shade. I think that can be a little bit dated depending on the space it's in, but a beautiful linen shade is always something that's going to be gorgeous. And there are lots of places you can order from online that sell them, that make them custom. You can even order them on Amazon from small businesses. Something like that's really fun. But if you are in a difficult position where you're saying like, I still don't know what to do about my lamp and what shade to get and I need new shades, but I don't know what to do, take your lamp into a lampshade store or a lamp store. Maybe look around your house and see what other shades do you have. Try them on that fixture because you might say, wait a second, I really like that shade, it's just a little bit too big. If it was 2 inches smaller, it'd be perfect. Trial and error is always a great way to understand your space and understand what your space needs, what it wants, what it calls for, even if it's just for a lampshade. Another great place to do accent lighting is on top of a tall piece of furniture or on top of cabinetry. Having lighting in those places is really wonderful because it casts a shadow upward. Maybe you have a tall bookcase or a large break front or china cabinet, or maybe it's the cabinetry in your kitchen. Adding lights on top of them will always give you that elevated and elegant look that you are after, that your space wants, that it needs, that it requires, without you having to put a ton of decoration or decor that needs to be dusted often. Task lighting is super important also because it's a really great way to get usable lighting, but it's also a great way to add accent lighting because a task light is downward facing, light that shines downward. This is going to be something like a desk lamp, like floor lamps, something that you're using for reading or that's maybe placed behind a chair, a floor lamp of some sort that will be really beautiful and cast a shadow, give you light when you're reading or you have something in front of you. A task light is beautiful because it's indirect, and that's something you can incorporate into any style of lighting. Finally, always remember that you want to have at least 3 different sources of lighting outside of just natural lighting. Have an overhead fixture, lamps in a floor lamp or sconces, something of that nature that will layer lighting and create a beautiful glowing space that you will enjoy and that will enhance the beauty and the usability of it. Well, there you have it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I really want to hear from you, my subscribers. What are some tips you have about lighting, or what are some questions you want answered about it that I maybe didn't cover in this video? Be sure to let me know and ask those questions in the comment section down below. Be sure you give this video a like, and I know that you know someone that has some lighting difficulties, that you're over their house and you're like, oh, it needs some work. Send this video to them because friends help friends, and I will see you in the next one.